My name's Rick Grantham. My son was bitten by a snake and he nearly died. What's quite bizarre is the day before, I'd been walking with both boys from the beach along that very same path. And they'd said to me, "Are there snakes here?" And I said, "No, it's far too cold for snakes." And since then I've learned that actually Berg Adders are quite active in autumn.
Dis 'n kleinerige slang. Hulle is gemiddeld so 40-50 cm lank en hulle is redelik astrant. So hulle is geneig om in die son te bak en as 'n mens dan op hulle afkom, sal hulle blaas en as jy nou per ongeluk na een trap, is daar 'n goeie kans dat jy gebyt kan word.
We were on a sort of family holiday down in Betty's Bay. At some stage, my father and my son Jamie had gone for a walk down to the beach. Yeah, so we'd seen them disappear into the fynbos, and then suddenly I heard a shout. I heard Jamie scream. He doesn't normally scream. He's a tough little guy. At the time, he was just under 6. So I ran down. My dad said it's fine. He just stood in a stick.
Soos baie van die ander adders maak hulle redelik sterk op hulle kamoufleringsstaat. So hulle hoop dat jy dan nie sien nie. En as jy dan nagenoeg aan hulle kom, dan sal hulle byt. As gevolg van die beperkte voorkoms van bergadders, ons het 'n paar gebiede en hoofsaaklik hoër liggende dele, sien ons nie so baie buite nie. Maar dit gebeur tog elke jaar dat 'n paar mense gebyt word. Dis nie ongehoor dat mense deur hulle gebyt word nie, maar dit is ook nie so algemeen nie.
Jamie had stopped crying by then. He was kind of whimpering and saying it's sore. And I said, "Should we put a plaster on it, as one normally does?" And he said, "Yes." There was a little bit of blood there. Something in the back of my mind said, this is a scratch, not a thorn kind of thing, but I didn't think a lot more. I think the most frightening part is that there was just no wound. We all assume that a snake bite is something that you see the snake, you know it was a snake bite, and therefore you react. And when you don't know it was a snake bite, it just changes the rules completely.
Dit kan maklik gebeur dat 'n persoon in 'n doring trap en dink dit is 'n slang en ons sien dit dikwels. Ek het al gevalle gehad van mense wat 'n rot gebyt is, want dink hulle is 'n slang. En jy kan ook nie eintlik van die merke die waar die gif dan in sou ingaan. Jy kan ook nie altyd daarvan sê of dit wel 'n slang was of nie.
Yeah, probably an hour or so later, Jamie had just started being sick. He had thrown up once or twice. It didn't surprise us at all. Quite a few of the kids had various problems, tummy problems. We put him in his bed to recover a bit, and about an hour after that, probably, we bundled everyone in the car. I was taking them back to the airport to fly back to Joburg, and I was going to drive the next morning. He complained about being tired and clearly weak. He was just very, very floppy. He was struggling to keep his eyes open, and they were sort of droopy. He wasn't very stable on his feet, and it just looked like he had really become dehydrated.
Die gif van die bergadder is redelik uniek in dat in die sin dat pofadder en gaboenadder gif is hoofsaaklik sitotoksies, veroorsaak baie pyn, swelling, blaase en dikwels weefselskade. Teenoor die gif van mambas en sekere kobras wat weer meer neurotoksies is en jou asemhaling kan affekteer. Bergadder gif is 'n kombinasie. Dit is 'n redelike vreemde gif. So baie keer sien ons dat slagoffers sukkel met pyn, swelling, bietjie weefselskade, nie so seer nie, maar dan is ook neurotoksiese eienskappe. En van die eienskappe van die gif is dat die slagoffers dikwels sukkel met asemhaling.
Barbara started noticing that he was really, really exhausted and started thinking, well, we need to get him to hospital. He might need to get onto a drip or something. The nurses basically took him away from her and said, "This is serious," and took him into resus. His breathing was very shallow, if at all, at that point.
Die effek van daai gif op 'n kind is baie erger as op 'n volwasse persoon. Want uiteraard jy 'n kleiner liggaam wat hierdie gif moet absorbeer en waar die gif dan skade doen. So dit is altyd baie gevaarliker wanneer kinders deur slange gebyt word as volwassenes.
Suddenly your mind, you've gone from this feeling like your boy's a little bit sick and he might need a little bit of help, and yes, hospital will sort this out, to suddenly thinking, what's happening? But when you hear your son is going for a brain scan, you really get worried. And at that stage, at some point, the message came back to me that they were doing some toxicity tests. And when I heard that, something clicked in my mind that something's not right here. And have you looked at his foot? And my mind went back to kind of when I put the plaster on. I'd often heard that snakes look like a scratch more than a snake bite looks more like a scratch initially rather than 2 points. There's some blood around the snake bite.
Weer eens, ons sien gevalle waar daar 2 klein merkies is en is doringmerke. So dis baie moeilik om vas te stel of hy deur 'n slang gebyt is of nie.
Basically, they induced a coma at that point to just slow everything down to work out what the problem might be. When I arrived in Joburg, the expectation from the doctor's side was that he will come round in the next half an hour or something. And of course, nothing changed, absolutely nothing changed.
Ons sien vreeslik baie slangbyte waar mense in 'n hospitaal opeindig en dit geen idee wat hulle gebyt het nie. En dit is nie 'n probleem vir die dokters wat behandel nie, want hulle kan volgens die simptome die pasiënt behandel. Vir die meeste slange is die teengif dieselfde teengif. So of jy nou deur 'n swart mamba, groen mamba, pofadder, kobra gebyt word, gebruik dieselfde teengif, maar vir die bergadder is daar geen teengif nie.
Fortunately, the pediatrician listened to us around the snakebite story, and she started doing some really good research around the snakebite theory and started finding antivenom. The paralysis definitely pointed to a Cape Cobra, and that's what we went with at that point.
En as 'n mens kyk na simptome waar 'n persoon deur 'n slang gebyt is, 'n kind en die kind is bewusteloos en is in die Kaap, dan maak 'n Kaapse kobra baie sin, want Kaapse kobra gif is sterk neurotoksies en dit kan baie gou vir 'n mens probleme gee met asemhaling.
Finally, the antivenom got there. They started putting, loading him up with it, and also gave him some adrenaline to go with that. It was quite scary because during that period we could see his heart rate was really high, and it's a huge amount of antivenom that they've got to put into a small guy. And I don't know that there was any link between the antivenom and what started happening, but he just started reacting to things.
Vir Berg Adder gif werk teen gif glad nie. So daar was geen werklike voordeel nie, maar wat wel gebeur het is kort nadat die teengif toegedien is, het Jamie begin reageer. En dit was net toevallig geweest dat hy teen daai stadium met van die gif alreeds deur die stelsel begin werk en hy het begin reageer.
Yeah, when I said, if you can hear me squeeze my hand. Man, yeah, he did. We've determined that it almost certainly wasn't a Cape Cobra. It's highly likely that it was a Berg Adder. And the logic behind that is that a Cape Cobra would have struck down, so that the bite would have been in a different place. This was very, very low on the side of his foot. Also, the paralysis would have come on much quicker from a Cape Cobra. This did take sort of 7 or 8 hours.
Kaapse kobras is redelik geneig om pad te gee, baie gou, maar dit is ook 'n strand. En as jy net 'n bietjie vaskeer of jy bedreig 'n Kaapse kobra, wat hulle gewoonlik doen is hulle maak 'n bak op en dan sal dit daarna byt. En in hierdie geval was die slang nie gesien nie. So dit het nie lekker sin gemaak nie, want mense dink dat as daar 'n Kaapse kobra was wat vir Jamie gebyt het, jy sit tog seker die slang gesien het. En vroeg het die vermoede begin intree dat dit heel moontlik 'n bergadder was. En dit is later van die as mense kyk na die simptome, is dit baie duidelik dat dit 'n bergadder byt was.
And then it was ICU for another 10 days. So even after we got out of ICU, was he able to really stand? As the paralysis sort of cleared from his legs and things. It's now 3 months since the bite, and he's basically perfect. The only thing which is outstanding, which hasn't come right yet, but should come right, is his eyes are not reacting to light. So his pupils are dilated, and they stay dilated.
En ons het al gevalle gehad waar mense blind is vir weke en daar's selfs ten minste een geval waar 'n persoon permanent blind is van 'n bergadder byt. Tot op datum het ons nie bevestigde gevalle van sterftes nie. Maar daar is 'n paar gevalle wat moontlik sterfgevalle wat moontlik kon gewees het as gevolg van bergadderbyte.
He's fine. He's doing well at school. He's getting a bit more active. I think he's still a bit nervous about things. It's made him scared of things he didn't used to be scared of. The reason why I wanted to be here and wanted to do this on 50/50 was because I think it's just such an important message for parents to hear. We could have got this wrong. We got it wrong anyway, but we got it so much more wrong. And if we'd been smart, we could have solved it so much more quickly. There were so many little signals that we could have noticed. But that said, they're all signals that you would see in a child who's just vomiting and has got a bit of a tummy bug.
Die geval wat Jamie gebyt was 'n baie unieke geval geweest. As mens na die ouers luister en hoe hulle dinge geïnterpreteer het, kon hulle nie eintlik iets anders gedoen het nie. En die advies is altyd dat as jy vermoed dat daar dalk 'n slangbyt betrokke was, kom by die hospitaal uit, dat hulle jou opneem en dat hulle jou dophou. Want jy kan goed voel vir etlike ure en dan baie vinnig verswak. So vir mense wat op vakansie gaan en wat slangbyt betref, slangbyt is nie 'n groot moontlikheid nie. Dit is 'n bittere klein gevaar. Die reis soontoe is 1000 keer meer gevaarlik. Maar mense moet tog waaksaam wees.
He's the guy who got bitten by the snake. He's quite popular at school.